Hello, Carla Stone. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Fantastic. Welcome, everybody, to Let's Talk About It. My name's Len DiCostanzo, CEO at MSP Toolkit and a partner growth advisor at Coro. I've been in the channel for 4 decades, seen it all, and helped build lots of the channel. Spent a couple of years at Kaseya, Autotest for 12 years, Datto, and spent some time with ConnectWise. And I've been focused on helping vendors build go-to-market strategies and partner programs with a focus on helping partners like Carla grow. I'm so happy to be here to chat with Carla and you all today. Carla, President and CEO of TechGuard, would you like to say hello to the audience?
Hello, everyone. Thanks, Lynn, for having me. Thanks for having TechGuard. And thanks, everyone, for joining.
Yes, well, Carla, you got we've got an interesting story about cybersecurity today, but you also have a really interesting personal story of accomplishment. But you're also in Las Vegas right now.
I am. We spent the weekend out here for the Super Bowl. Didn't actually go to the game, but went to a fabulous watch party and just enjoyed all the great energy out here. So, really good weekend.
Very nice. Definitely a little bit jealous. I was home working on my laptop while I watched the Super Bowl. So, I wish I was there with you. So, anyway, Carl, let's kind of get going here. I mean, first off, this is Let's Talk About It, presented by Coro. We do this monthly. Actually, this is our second one. Carla is our first guest, actually. And one of the things I liked about Carla's story is not only is she building TechGuard into a powerhouse MSSP, but Carla has her own success story. As you can see, her title is President and CEO. And Carla, maybe you could kind of share how you got started at TechGuard, where you began this journey to the top. Actually, one thing I'd like to say is if I were to retitle this, and I got this note here, if I were to retitle this, I would say Carla Stone, One Woman's Journey to Building a Powerhouse MSSP. Do you like that title?
I like that title, Lynn, but it really takes a team. There's no way I could have done any of this without my fabulous team behind me. So, it really does take a team to, conquer the world. Um, Yeah, a little bit about TechGuard. We were founded in 2000, basically as a research and development company. We always say we were in cyber before cyber was cool. I joined the company in 2006. Actually, my first title was senior accountant.
Wow.
So I was hired to convert our accounting system to a DCAA government approved accounting system. That's where
Wow.
I started.
So how do you come in as a senior accountant and like what was the next step? Like, so you came in, TechGuard was already in cyber. What was TechGuard doing?
We were doing a lot of research and development. We had a lot of patents. We had our own product. We had a firewall at the time. And we were doing a limited amount of services to help pay for that research and development. Some more in the federal, local state sector, that type of thing.
So you start out senior accountant. TechGuard sounds a little bit different than you are right now. So like, how did you make your next move? And was TechGuard aligned with your moves, or did you move as TechGuard moved? Like, how did you move from R&D into kind of moving into this MSSP space?
So I think there's a couple different paths there. One was we needed money to complete our research and development. We were bootstrapped. We never took VC funding. We were always doing it on our own. So we needed money in order to pay for that. The best way to do that in our mind was for services. So we were doing services in the commercial sector as well as in the government sector. For me, I would say, any opportunity that I got, I took it. Our contracts manager left. I was like, I can do that. So I went and got my contracts certification. Our facility security officer, left. And I said, well, I can do that. So I went and got my certification in that. And then things just kind of kept moving. So from there, went to become president over our government division because I probably very naively stepped in and said I could handle a government audit at the client site.
Right?
Um, had success, and so just kind of went on that path. And then we spun off that research and technology division into a subsidiary, and that's when I became president and CEO of the parent company.
Great. So now TechGuard, you've risen to the big chair, the big seat, president, CEO. I love to say that. Shining example, by the way, Carla, not only to women, but to men and anyone in between that wants to achieve some goals. I mean, that's, I was CEO of my company, and I probably say I've been trying to be CEO again. I'm CEO at MSP Toolkit. So it's a great accomplishment. So I know you do a lot of pen testing, vulnerability assessment. So talk about some of these key offerings that you have, and how it helps clients, how it helps these end users, these businesses, and like what are you doing with pen testing and vulnerability assessment?
Well, basically, the number one question that we get from SMBs, customers, business owners, anywhere really, is either where do I start, or how do I know what I really have? So I get a lot of CEOs, C-suite people saying, I'm being told we're secure, I'm being told we're fine, but how do I know if that's really the case? And so, and actually, to take a step back, we have a large government sector where we're doing offensive, defensive cyber in the government space. It was our vision to take kind of some of those capabilities and some of those offerings and bring it into the commercial sector. So that was when our commercial sector really took off in probably that 2016, 2017 era. But what we do is basically we come in, we like to, figure out what companies' risks are. Where are they vulnerable? Most people don't know where they are vulnerable. And if you don't know, you can't do anything about it. So
Are you talking more on the tech vulnerability? Are you talking on the business process?
Both. I mean, when we're talking about vulnerabilities, we're basically focused on security, but that can be anywhere between their IT, their physical, anything that's involved around that security sector. It can be any type of compliance framework that they have to comply with. Anything that makes them better from that perspective is where we come in.
So you basically will go in and try to, I guess, sounds like as a third party, right? You're coming in and maybe they have an IT department, maybe they're being serviced even by an MSP out there, but your job is to go in and find some holes and tell them where to patch.
Correct. Right. Most people don't know where their holes are. And that's the issue. As a business owner, a head of a division, in charge of anything, knowledge is power. So once you know where your vulnerabilities are, you can make the decision then. And I always say, anytime you're talking about risk, you have three options. You can accept it, you can mitigate it, or you can transfer it. But unless you know what it is, you can't make any of those decisions. So we help identify what it is and then give them tools in which they can mitigate it, suggestions on how to transfer it, and then go from there.
Yeah, well, maybe actually right now, like when you say transfer it, what do you mean? What do you mean transfer it?
There's a couple of ways to transfer it. The number one way is cyber insurance, right? You're transferring that risk. I always say that should be your last line of defense or offense, however you want to look at it, but transfer the risk. We're seeing a lot of transfer of risk with supply chain. If people are doing their supply chain risk management correctly, most companies are trying to transfer as much risk as they can to either their suppliers or their vendors. Not my fault, your issue. So I think there's a couple different ways to transfer it. I still believe the number one way is insurance.
So if that's your last line of defense in priority order, like what's first and second?
I mean, figuring out what your holes are, right? I mean, you have to, unfortunately, the number one attack space, or the number one attack vector is still phishing. As sophisticated as we think everybody is, it's still phishing. So, I mean, it starts with the basics, figure out what your gaps are, but train your employees as they are your biggest threat, whether, they intend to or not, they're your biggest threat. Look for gaps in your network, whether internal or external, make sure that both are very secure. I always say, make sure you're not standing naked in the middle of Times Square, right? Do those vulnerability assessments to see what you look like to the outside world. And then also, I think one of my tech guys calls it the turtle effect. You could have a very hard exterior, but make sure that if that exterior gets penetrated, your internal is just as secure, right?
Nice. So basically, you're kind of acting as a third party for some end clients or end user businesses. How does an MSP do that? So if you're moving into this MSSP space, how does an MSP do this? Can they go in and actually do their own penetration of vulnerability assessment and fix it? Does someone like you come in in support of an MSP? How do you see an MSP doing what you're saying? Should they be doing this?
We do. We work with a lot of MSPs, and we see it as, the fox guarding the hen house. MSPs should be, they're the ones, their expertise is usability, accessibility, all of that type of thing around a company's network, that type of thing. Our expertise is making sure that they're secure. So we really like to work with MSPs together on behalf of the MSP and the client to make sure that everybody's better. We're not out to poke holes in what the MSP is doing. We're not out to poke holes in what the customer's doing. Well, we kind of are, but we're just trying to make sure that we're all secure and that we're all staying that step ahead of the adversary.
So it almost feels like, I hear a lot from MSPs that they can't sell cyber to their clients. Their clients don't believe they can be hacked. Is it something an MSP should go, well, if you don't believe that, how about we bring in some third party to assess? Is that kind of part of a sales action motion they can take?
Part of the sales action. Making an MSP believe that they're a target is a whole different, a whole different challenge that we face. Most don't think that they have anything that that an adversary wants. What we're seeing is MSBs, MSEs, however you want to call it, are the number one target right now because, they are the lower hanging fruit. We're seeing more of that net approach where the adversaries are just throwing out a net to see what they can catch. And they don't care who they catch. They're just catching the lowest hanging fruit. So you don't want to be that. You have to stay ahead of people within your industry and anybody else. So
as far as as far as MSPs, of course, they got to check their own vulnerabilities. So they should probably have someone like you assess their vulnerability. I'm more concerned when they go to sell cyber to their clients, right? Mm-hmm. Their clients are the ones thinking they're not under attack, that they can't be hacked. And in fact, some of them don't have cyber insurance. One of the things I see out there is cyber insurance companies working with MSPs to go in and do this third-party assessment of cyber insurability. And as a result, that they can make recommendations to that business of where they need to fill the gap. Now the MSP doesn't even have to sell cyber. They just go in and deploy it. I kind of see the same thing with what you're doing. If you work with an MSP, the MSP who's having difficulty selling to their end client can in fact bring you in as a third party, assess the gaps, you make your recommendations, that MSP goes in and fixes it, right?
Correct. Absolutely. We should be working together on that 100%.
So, it seems to me that'd be really crazy for most MSPs to not have a partner like you in their back pocket. So great. So a lot of pen testing, vulnerability assessment, you do it direct, you work with MSPs. You mentioned training, and I know, you do cyber awareness training as well. So did your early work in pen testing and vulnerability and seeing that phishing and emails and issues, what made you get into cyber awareness training and making that a big offering?
So we actually started in the training sector in the government side, doing specific training for different agencies and things like that. And then we just saw a very large need in the commercial sector. Again, number one, attack space. What's the best way to be proactive and secure your network? To be honest with you, one of our triggering events to really robustly go after that was we have a contract with AIG Insurance, right? Talking about the insurance carriers, what they're trying to do, how they're trying to mitigate their risk and things like that. they see cybersecurity awareness training and vulnerability assessments as their #1 way to mitigate claims. So anybody that has AIG cyber insurance, they get a couple of our services for free, and AIG pays on behalf of the customer because the return on investment is so high for them.
Wow. So do you bring in your cyber awareness training as a kind of a separate item, or do you go in, do pen testing, find the gap, then bring in the training? Like, are they mutually exclusive?
So they're kind of mutually exclusive. I would say all at Cyber Insurance get cybersecurity awareness training, phishing, and an annual vulnerability assessment. However, I will say that from the more of that proactive prescriptive side, we're seeing insurance carriers going in and asking us to do pen testing and things like that so that they have a better idea of what risk they're taking when they're underwriting a customer.
Wow.
So they don't know what their claims are. People can say anything they want to on those applications, and they're finding that people are saying that they're doing things, but then having claims to prove differently.
And then when they put that claim in, they come in and check and they say, oh, you didn't do endpoint like you said, so
exactly.
we're not paying out the claim. Interesting. I just read an article as I'm kind of looking around, going to a warm weather. I'm up here in sunny Boston right now with a couple inches of snow, looking down south, and I've just been reading how Florida insurance companies, I think 7 of them, have gone out of business since 2022. Insurance premiums are doubling, going through the roof. People can't afford it. So they're actually going without homeowners insurance. Sounds like cyber insurance kind of very similar. Do you see businesses not wanting cyber insurance because it's too expensive? Do these assessments, tests, and training reduce their premium? Should they even have cyber insurance? You said transfer risk. I mean, so many questions around cyber insurance. Right. What does an SMB do? And how does the MSP help them make these decisions?
I mean, honestly, if you look at the average claim amount, most companies, especially SMBs, don't have that amount of cash sitting in the bank. I think cyber insurance is a necessity. I will say that if somebody goes in to get cyber insurance for the first time, or they see a renewal coming up and their rates are really increasing, we can come in and help them kind of fill those gaps, do those pen tests, show that the risk is actually less. And then they will see a decrease in their premium, or at least a more palatable premium in which they can afford. I mean, I can't imagine anybody having a company in today's age and not carrying cyber insurance.
Yeah, I mean, obviously very important, and sounds like you can help MSPs get their clients to be insurable
insurable ready. Absolutely.
Love it. So let's see what else we have here. You talked pen testing, vulnerability, and we have cyber awareness training. You're moving into this MSSP model. You just made a big step. Like you and I met at Coro's sales kickoff a couple of weeks back.
Yes, we did.
Had a great time, a great event Coro put on for their global sales team. I mean, flying everybody in from all over the world. Right. Yeah. And you made a big move there, right? You made a big move to be there. You sat on a panel telling stories. As you moved to this MSSP model, how did Coro help you? Where's Coro fitting in for you?
You know, our goal is always to give our customers the best solution and the best cyber program, I would say, that we could. And I challenge the team all the time. What else could we be doing? Like I said before, we really stick with that preventative, proactive side, where we're trying to, I always say, keep them in business. I know there's some statistics floating around that if a business, has a breach, they're going to be out of business in 6 months if they're an SMB, with or without insurance kind of type thing. So we always say our goal is to help them stay in business type thing. And what we were finding in doing the risk assessments, filling those gaps, the vulnerabilities that we were seeing, there was a lot that our services don't fix. They don't help. And so we had honestly been looking for quite a while, I would say up to couple years to find that what we felt to be that perfect solution to go along with our services. And Coro, with the 14 modules, pretty much, hit 14 of those vulnerabilities in some way, shape, or form, and just really, really seemed to round out our services from a technical standpoint. I would say from a more of a personal business standpoint, doing business with the team at Coro has been unbelievable. Everything from, first calls to, again, getting to participate in the SKO, getting to meet everybody. Everybody has been just top notch. I couldn't have asked for a better partner.
Well, that's awesome. We definitely Cora's doing a great job out there. Actually, I like the 14 module, and you said kind of it plugged a bunch of the gaps. And as I mentioned, I did a little work with Kaseya, but I spent 12 years at Autotask, which is one of the top PSA, professional service automation platforms out there. And I remember our early days where we had to talk to MSPs and say, why do you want a CRM, a project management tool, a billing tool, a ticketing tool, contract management tool, and all these different point solutions that are different and don't talk to each other, and you double, triple, and quadruple enter data when you could use something like Autotask. And I always like to say Coro is doing for cybersecurity what Autotask and ConnectWise and the PSA tools did for business management for MSPs, and that's consolidating multiple point solutions under one unified user experience. So I do think that's pretty valuable. So now your team, instead of learning 14 different products,
Exactly.
essentially learns one product and can kind of manage and deal with that. You handle churn of your employees a little better. I love it. And it's a great story. But, we're kind of getting down to the end here, but I did want to ask one thing. I know you do pen testing. You said you work in the government, you work in small business. Can you share, without naming names, right, any highlights of your findings? Perhaps what was the most unique problem or gap or vulnerability that could have been exploited?
I would say, mostly it's forgotten servers or forgotten devices or things like that. One of the things that we really emphasize is if you want to be secure, like, Len, I'll use your words, give us the whole enchilada, right? Let us see it all, right? Don't just give us a little bitty scope, because what you don't know. And it's amazing how many times we'll go into an organization, they'll think they're secure, yet, oh yeah, I forgot about that test server sitting out there, blah, 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 blah. And they're literally open to the world. I mean, I can't even go into all of the particulars of what we see. Or, I think we had just a couple days ago, a customer first phishing attempt, and sometimes it takes a while. Sometimes some organizations are doing a much better job of creating that security-minded culture than others. But the other day, I think first phishing attempt, we had multiple clicks within one organization. I mean, it's that simple.
Wow. And what makes them click? Like, what was the particular curiosity around this particular email? Did it come from the CEO? Did it say?
I don't know the particulars. I know Super Bowl in general has one of the most click-throughs. So anytime you have a Super Bowl or an event like that, weather-related is a big one. School closings because of weather-related, things like that. Anything that takes people off, I would always say, like, off of their game, right? Oh yeah, I'm interested. Do my kids have school today? Or is it a late start? Or anything around a current event are always, we see a lot of failures around those times.
And it's so true, because even myself, I've had to check myself. I'm in the space, I'm into cyber, you're into cyber, and I have to tell you, I get emails, the New York Times, I get it every week or every day, or a link to, an article from a periodical I read. And there were times when I go, oh, let me look at that article. And it just suddenly dawned on me, with certainly AI coming into play now, and making such real content, that why am I clicking on anything in my email And if I want to read the New York Times or my favorite, the New York Post, because I'm from New York City and Staten Island, let me just go there on my own. So is there any simple advice like that you could share outside of doing cybersecurity awareness training inside your company? Like just simple rules of thumb, like don't click on anything. Go there.
Basically, don't click on anything. Don't be productive. Don't work. No, I mean,
Yeah.
again, it's just that awareness. I mean, there's just so many ways. They're getting smarter. It's no longer the, Arabian prince that wants to give you the $1 million. They're using our signatures. They know our dialect now. They know it all. I mean, it's absolutely amazing how
Yeah.
sophisticated they have been.
I've been actually hearing now people getting robocalls and they're saying, Len DiCostanzo. And if you go yes, they got what they wanted. They got you saying yes. And they basically look to build a library of your voice now. So, I mean, things are just getting crazy. And, are you getting involved with AI in any way? Do you see AI impacting your business?
I think AI should be impacting every business. I was on a panel last week for the St. Louis President's Forum, and we talked a lot about AI. And it was pretty evident that if you're running a business right now, if you're in a business right now and you're not using AI, you're going to be left behind. And we get asked a lot of times, we have so much. There's so much out there. There's so many products out there. There's so many services out there. How do we know what we want? And one of the things that we hear over and over is easeability of use, which I believe Coro 100% brings that capability. It's easy. I always call it the easy button. It's easy to use, that one unified experience type thing. But the other thing is AI. If you're looking at upgrading anything within your organization, it better include AI.
That's a nice, simple statement, right? And interesting. I'm going to do a little plug on March 11th. I'll be at Channel Partners Conference. So will you. So will Coro, with a great big old booth there. And I've got actually several panel sessions. And one of them is how navigating the AI landscape for MSPs. And one of the key topics is, MSPs utilizing tools that have AI built into it. So it's not necessarily monetizing AI directly, but how do you use AI in your business? And cyber is certainly one of those areas that AI needs to be kind of all over, certainly on the good side, because we know the bad side's working it. We got to put it on the good side. And Coro has got that AI engine built in as well. Those 14 modules, you could start with one, but the more you add, they're all talking to each other and trying to discern what's going on, what anomalies are out there. So
it is. I heard last week they said, in the early 1990s, most companies were deciding, am I going to bring this internet thing into my business? I don't really know if I'm going to do this internet thing, right? Those were kind of some of the things that you heard. And, a lot of people believe AI has that same type of impact on the future, right?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, I've been using my little chat GPT a little more than ever. So having that intelligent person next to you to help you is super. So imagine.
Well, then I heard this tip, and you might already know this, but if you want a more sincere response, type please and thank you. If you want a more succinct, direct response, type take a breath first.
Oh, nice.
That's what I heard. It's all about learning, right? And in the common English language, when we say take a breath, we pause, we gain our thoughts, and we give a more distinct response.
I like that. I'm actually going to use it to build my next set of questions for my next cyber live stream with Coro. Let's talk about it. So, Carla, any parting words? Been a great conversation. Hopefully, folks got something out of it, more like a journey that not only you took personally, but on your way to an MSSP and Coro and other products have helped you get there. But any parting words?
Nope, just stay safe out there. It's a bad, bad world.
Yeah.
And thanks again to Len and Coro for this great opportunity. We are so excited about this partnership, and 2024 is going to be a great year.
Well, I second that, Carla. Great to meet you. Look forward to seeing you out in Las Vegas again in a couple of
Again,
weeks.
I know, again, I hate that.
Yeah, well, again, it's going to be terrible, terrible. But all right, everyone, thanks for joining us. And Creighton, thanks for your comment. We love sharing that we do have a unified experience at Coro, and we love to make our partners happy and customers. So have a great day, everybody. Great night. And we'll catch up next